Wolves are true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Winter is here, and there's a good chance your home isn't being heated efficiently. And it's likely because of air sealing and insulation problems. Inadequate attic insulation is the leading contributor to high energy bills, cold rooms, and ice dams. Great news, the energy-efficient pros at Snap Construction can fix it all. Stop the heat from leaking out and save. Call 612-333-SNAP or visit snapconstruction.com for your free infrared energy inspection. Install with Snap Construction and qualify for over $750 in rebates and incentives. State and city programs are now offering 0% financing for qualifying insulation upgrades. So call Snap Construction for your free insulation energy consultation and start saving on your energy bills. Call 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed insulation and exterior contractor in the metro area. Visit snapconstruction.com.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. There is a wind chill advisory in effect tonight. Lows of 13 below zero with wind chills down to 25 below zero. Then Friday, cloudy with a high of 6 above, but wind chills of 23 below. Sign up for All Energy Solar's winter webinar. Visit allenergysolar.com/webinar to register for an event and see what incentives are available for you.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, we got a pretty decent-sized show here. I just got off the phone with Bob Blake and recorded a quick update that I'll be playing here. And we also have a guest. Could you tell us a little bit about the guest before you do the Rockin' News?
Sure, absolutely. So our guest tonight is Brenna from the Indigenous Peoples Task Force. Brenna is the Youth Programs Manager at the Indigenous Peoples Task Force, and she has been a part of the Native Youth Health Education Program since 2010. She is an ally to Native people and does some really wonderful work. She's going to be talking about the application for the Healing Circle and Native American Employment Training Program cohort number 2, as well as touching base with us because we just recently had an intern through the Indigenous Peoples Task Force, and she helped to set it up for us. So we'll touch base on that and see the great work they do.
Awesome. Hey, without any further ado, I really appreciate that. And Bob Blake will be talking about the bill that's on the floor right now. So it's exciting to have things flying around in the last minute here, but we're used to doing that, and it's going to be a rocking show. So, hey, Ogama, let's get with the news that you don't hear anywhere else with Ogama with the news. Oh,
Hey, Bushu relatives. This is Ogamakanua. I am a citizen of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and I have some news and information for you here on Native Roots Radio. And one of the things that I do want to talk about is that currently the 100% bill is the clean energy bill is currently on the floor in Minnesota. And there's an event that's happening right this moment. Started about 10:30 this morning and runs until about 9 p.m. It's Pack the Rotunda for the 100% Senate hearing. But the idea of this bill is Governor Walz has a plan. It's a 4-part plan for 100% clean energy in Minnesota by 2040. The standard would require all electric utilities in Minnesota to use carbon-free energy resources by 2040 and setting interim goals along the way. And it also strengthens Minnesota's energy standard with new goals. This is a really exciting bill that has stalled out in the Senate before. But people this year are optimistic that it's going to pass. So senators and pass in the Senate this year. So if you can show up at the Rotunda at the Capitol and let senators know that they have a mandate to pass the 100% carbon-free electricity by 2040, get over there if you can. If not, make sure that you come next week for the Rise and Repair event. The week after next, for the Rise and Repair rally for Indigenous rights and climate justice. That's happening February 15th at 11 a.m. That is also at the Minnesota State Capitol and ties really, really kind of tucks in right nicely with this 100% clean energy bill. Hopefully by that time on the 15th, that bill will have passed, and we'll be there to rally and celebrate its passing, as well as letting our elected officials know that we're watching them and we have the expectation that they will do right by Minnesota. So another event that I want to make you aware of is February 6th at 12 noon at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis is the Rise Up for Peltier event. It's for justice and freedom for Leonard Peltier, the political prisoner who has been in prison now for 48 years for aiding and abetting the murder of a a federal agent, the FBI, during the occupation at Wounded Knee. For reference, those who were convicted of aiding and abetting in the murder of George Floyd got less than half of the time that Leonard Peltier has spent in prison, just to kind of give you an idea of, kind of the differences that are happening there, and why Peltier's continued imprisonment is political in nature. Most of you probably know next week, February 14th, is known as Red Dress Day. It is a day of honoring, remembrance, and activism for our missing and murdered Indigenous women and relatives. And there are events that are happening all over the state. And I'm sure there are also events that are happening nationwide that I have not been able to track down as of yet. But the 3 big ones that I want to mention are in Minneapolis, Duluth, and Bemidji. The one in Minneapolis happens Tuesday, February 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. starting at East Phillips Park. Again, they ask everybody if you wear red. Speakers begin at 11 a.m. and the march begins at noon. At East Phillips Park, they'll have speakers, a lunch, informational tables, and more. This event is sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition, the Minneapolis American Indian Center, the Indian Health Board of Minneapolis, the Native American Community Development Institute, NACD, and the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, as well as the Little Earth Residents Association. Just about everybody down on the avenue, right, Robert?
Yeah, it sure sounds like it.
In Duluth, Tuesday, February 14th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the annual Memorial March for Missing and Murdered Indigenous women and relatives. This is put on by the American Indian Community Housing Organization, Native Lives Matter Coalition, Men as Peacemakers, and many others. Their event starts down at the Robert Paulus Cultural Center and at the American Indian Community Housing Organization. They do have a call out in Duluth for jingle dress dancers, hand drum singers, and people to wear red for MMIWR. Red dresses, red skirts, red shirts, red shawls, all honoring survivors, solidarity shawls to come for that event. Check-in is at 11 a.m. and at 1 p.m. the event starts with a prayer. The march will start at 2:45. All are welcome at these events. So even if you're new to this movement or you don't know too much about MMIW, but it's something that you feel connected to, show up. It's really important that our relatives are there in whatever capacity they're able to be there. In Bemidji, February 14th is Justice for MMIW 218 at the Paul and Babe. That one also runs 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are honoring and remembering our relatives, and they will start a walk from the Paul and Babe and end at the Beaux Arts Ballroom at BSU. All are welcome, and they are asking for singers and dancers to attend. And if you have any questions, check out the MMIW 218 Facebook page. So those are some of the big events that are happening around MMIW Day. Robert, this just came in recently, and I'm pretty excited about it. There's a media alert on the Aiken County Water Protectors hearing and Sheriff Dan Gaida. There is a decision on this that's most likely to come in mid-May, and hopefully there's going to be some briefs and things that are happening in regards to this. But February 1st, 2023, water protectors facing charges from defending land, air, and water from Line 3 had their contested omnibus hearing at the Aiken County Courthouse, and their attorney examined Aiken County Sheriff Dan Gaida on the stand about $355,000 his department received from Enbridge's escrow account and about recent allegations that he had roughed up a subpoena server. The attorney also questioned Richard Hart, who's the manager of Enbridge's escrow fund, which was used to pay county and state police officers and situations for arresting water protectors. They've raised the questions of legality about this. There was $8.5 million paid to Minnesota law enforcement agencies. So hopefully with this, there's going to be things that we're going to see coming up in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, hopefully. Hey, we got a special report from Bob Blake in his car, and then we're going to get to Brianna, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us. Ho!
Take care of your community by joining Metro Transit's Adopt a Stop program. Show your community pride by adopting a transit stop. Join us in helping keep the stop and your neighborhood beautiful and report any maintenance needs to us. We'll put a sign at the stop recognizing your efforts. Plus, you'll get 10 free rides every month. Get details at metrotransit.org/adopt. Again, adopt a stop for Metro Transit.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, before we get our next guest on, I want to play this quick clip here and get a total update about what's happening at the Capitol and the big bill that's going to be on the floor that the House passed. So let's try this technology here. I'm going to be playing it from my phone onto the Roadcaster. Hey, we got a special report here from Robert Blake from Red Lake. I always have to say that. A lot of fun. Robert is with Solar Bear with the Solar News normally, but he's on an important assignment right now. But we wanted to talk a little bit real quick before he has to jump into a meeting about what's going on at the Capitol right now. Thanks a lot, Robert, for stopping in.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Robert. What we got going on is the Senate is currently voting on the 100% campaign. And so this is really important because it passed the House and now it goes to the Senate. And if we can have it passed in the Senate, Robert, then it will go to Governor Walz's desk, and then he can then sign it into law. So this would be really huge for the state of Minnesota, for renewable energy, for jobs, for workforce development, for the state attracting talent into our communities. And so this is just really good all the way around for the state of Minnesota.
So what is all in that bill? Can you tell our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're trying to do is the bill basically gives a timeline. So by 2040, what we would like to do is we would like to have, energy resources, be 100% carbon free. So meaning renewable, basically renewable energy, supporting, our energy infrastructure. And this will then in turn be able to create clean, cheap energy for our communities, and will also give incentives to homeowners, to businesses that want to go renewable, and also attract different types of like heat source air pumps, that we then could use for our heating sources. So this is really good legislation. Some really, really smart people. Big shout out to Chris Conroy, who has been leading this fight for the last 5 years, and has just done a tremendous job. And we're so excited that that this is all coming to fruition. And so we just have to see that this gets passed in the Senate now.
Right on. So we got the trifecta here. So they've been passing and pushing bills through really quick that we need finally, because in the last cycle, the Republicans were ahead of the Senate. So this is time to really do what you said you're going to do. And it's an exciting time too, Robert.
Absolutely, Robert. And the thing about it is too, that, we have a very slim lead in the Senate, right? So a lot of things can happen here, right? But what we're hoping for is that, even if it does stay by party lines, hopefully we can get a couple of people from the other side to come and vote for this, because when you look at the state of Minnesota, 70% of Republicans, 70% of Democrats want clean energy. So this is a bipartisan issue in the state of Minnesota. So it's just that 40% that are like gung ho about it, and that other 30% that are on the fence about it. So when you look at those statistics, we can get this done in the state of Minnesota, and it doesn't have to be a bipartisan issue. This can be a one Minnesota issue. And that's what's really exciting about this, because it's going to create jobs. It's going to create opportunities. It's going to continue to keep Minnesota a leader in education and attracting talent to our communities. So there's so many good things in here that we really hope that the Senate passes it this evening. If not, please, everyone, contact your senator. Tell them that you want them to vote for 100% clean energy, and let's get this to Tim Walz's desk so he can sign it into law.
Perfect. And I was just going to ask you what the call to action is, but you just gave it. Hey, Robert, I know you're really busy, but it was really important for us to talk. Have a great night. Thanks again for helping out here on Native Roots Radio and helping all over Turtle Island with these important issues.
Yep. Thank you very much, Robert, for doing this. And I appreciate everyone. And please contact your senator for 100% clean energy. Miigwech.
That was Robert Blake from Red Lake. I always love to say that. Hey, we're with Brenna. Is that how you say your name?
Yep.
Wow,
Brenna.
I'm always destroying people's names, so thank you for your your patience. And you're with the Indigenous Peoples Task Force and the Healing Circle, keeping the fire alive. And you are going to be talking about the cohort number 2. And I know Ogama and I have been working with you and your group, and we had an intern. So it's really exciting to hear about this program and what's next. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. It's kind of exciting to be here. This is something new for me, and yeah, it was really great that you both reached out about hosting an intern, and so that's a new program at Indigenous Peoples Task Force. So we had a really small pilot cohort April to June 2022, and then did kind of a bigger rollout, and you were able to host an intern in November and December, and then some of January here. And so yeah, it took a lot of community partners that were willing to show their support of that group of young Native adults. We're working with 18 to 24-year-olds, and just really, as an organization, we thought about what are some of the gaps in programming that's offered in Minneapolis. IPTF has, my role at IPTF, I've done a lot of Native youth programming, whether it's in theater, health education, things like sexual health, suicide prevention. But then we really saw what happens when Native youth are kind of aging out of those after-school programs, and wanted to provide something that would help them make that kind of transition from high school to building some career skills and having some introduction to some of the jobs and careers that are right there in their community, but they probably don't see. There's jobs like Target or Chipotle that they see all the time, and so that might be what they're imagining for their future. And we just wanted to open up that there's so many other types of jobs at Native nonprofit organizations, community organizations, and just show them that their life experiences, knowledge, a lot of their cultural knowledge makes them a really good fit for some of the entry-level jobs in Native organizations right in their community. So.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I think you said that all. And I know Ogama worked heavily with our intern, and it was a blessing to have her. And, it's like the yellow Volkswagen syndrome. Now I see her all over the place. I saw her at the Round Dancer family, and I saw her little brother Opie at the fair before that. But, I guess, Ogama, how did you feel about the program? Because I feel like we hit the jackpot with who we got.
Absolutely. Our intern, Ayana, we miss her dearly, and we're working on some ways to maybe try to have her back and try to have her join us again. But it was really eye-opening and exciting to be able to offer that opportunity to somebody, a youth in the community. And also, I think we felt like, we were offering this opportunity with the internship, but what she gave back to us and the skills that she brought were so amazing. And it was really, really great to have her. And I would encourage other Native organizations, if this internship program comes around again, Brenna did a really great job, and Indigenous Peoples Task Force really put on a really professional and wonderful program with this.
Oh man, that's really great to hear. I appreciate that. And it was so easy to just really care about that group of 11 interns and just want the absolute best for them. So I'm so happy to hear that Ayana's impact in your work and just having that young energy made a positive difference. So this program was funded by Minnesota Department of Human Services. And so we had 11 interns complete the program. And then our goal is to have 24 interns complete the program. So it's 8-week internships that start with a 40-hour professional development training where they kind of really get to know each other, realize that this is a group of people that can support them, like fellow Native peers that they can share some experiences with. And so yeah, we've done 11. We have 13 more to go. So I'll be kicking off this next cohort probably late March or early April. And so our social media will be kind of the first place where the application is available, and you can learn more, whether you're a Native young person 18 to 24 in the Twin Cities or an organization that would like to host an intern.
Hey, we got a couple more segments, but do you mind staying on with us for another segment? Because I want to grill you about some stuff. Oh, wow.
Oh boy. Okay.
Don't panic. He's great. Don't worry.
She said, oh boy. Hey, it's that Indian sense of humor you got to get used to. Hey, so with Brianna, and we are with the Indigenous Peoples Task Force, and we're going to be right back. And we're going to talk a little bit about, how she found the people and how that all went down. So we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Take care of your community by joining Metro Transit's Adopt a Stop program. Show your community pride by adopting a transit stop. Join us in helping keep the stop and your neighborhood beautiful, and report any maintenance needs to us. We'll put a sign at the stop recognizing your efforts. Plus, you'll get 10 free rides every month. Get details at metrotransit.org/adopt. Again, adopt a stop for Metro Transit.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
This is Santita Jackson, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I couldn't be more excited about starting our days together, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central, on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota.
Progressive change doesn't just happen. It takes dedication and a lot of hard work. 25 years ago, the Data Bank pioneered a new generation of software tools for progressive organizations here in Minnesota. Since then, thousands of organizations have used the Data Bank to create progressive change. Today, the Data Bank continues to help progressive organizations like AM 950. To have the Data Bank help your organization build capacity and create more change, text CHANGE to 612-540-0500 or go to thedatabank.com. The Data Bank, a quarter century of dedication and hard work for progressive organizations.
The Senior Linkage Line is a free statewide service of the Minnesota Board on Aging, helping older Minnesotans and caregivers find answers and connect to services and supports. Questions about Medicare, transportation, looking to move to senior housing, overwhelmed with prescription drug plans? Call the Senior Linkage Line at 800-333-2433 or visit trellisconnects.org, where we help people optimize well-being as they age. That's trellisconnects.org.
On This Queer Book Saved My Life, we talk with LGBTQ guests about the queer books that saved their lives. On our next episode, we chat with Nancy Agabian about the book In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. It is a memoir about an abusive relationship Carmen had with an ex-girlfriend. Nancy shares how In the Dream House saved her, and then we meet Carmen to discuss the writing of her memoir and how it was like passing a kidney stone, something she needed to do to move on. Listen to This Queer Book Saved My Life every Saturday morning at 7 a.m.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. There is a wind chill advisory in effect tonight. Lows of 13 below zero with wind chills down to 25 below zero. Then Friday, cloudy with a high of 6 above, but wind chills of 23 below. Grab a tray at Cafe Latte and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and desserts. Cafe Latte is at Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul or at cafelatte.com.
Bijou. I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Native Roots Radio. This is Ogamakinua. This portion of the show is brought to you by MNsure. If you are looking for health insurance and not sure where to start, head on over to mnsure.org. They have free experts that can help you. And we are here with Brenna from the Indigenous Peoples Task Force. Brenna is the head of the youth programming there, the youth programming manager at Indigenous Peoples Task Force. And I just want to give a little bit of a shout out here too. She's also a master's of public health and has been working for quite some time in Native youth programming here in the Twin Cities. So welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, yeah. So when did you get your master's? How old were you?
Oh, you want to know my age? No.
No.
Well, my first job, after college, I was in AmeriCorps Vista working at a Native youth soccer program in Albuquerque. And then I kind of missed home. And so then I applied to grad school at the U of M. And so that's kind of what brought me to the Twin Cities and introduced me to the Native community here. And then, so that was my first job in Minneapolis. And I guess I really enjoy working with teens and doing that type of like direct health education. And, there's a lot of laughter and stories and a really wide variety in the work that I do. So, yeah, the years just add up, I guess.
That was good how you got around that question. But hey, that was really masterful. So what? How did this come about? I mean, was it something that you'd seen happen? Did you start this program and? Or did the Department of Human Services kind of throw this idea out? How did this start?
Yeah. Working at IPTF, we met as a staff, probably similar to many organizations, just had like experienced loss due to opioid use and overdoses. And we really thought about what's missing, a lot of like talented, wonderful people are struggling with addiction or why is using substances is Obviously, COVID and a lot of different things impact people's mental health. And so, what's like another strategy, or what could our work do to help support that age group that might be feeling a little uncertain about their future, off the path? Like, how can we address substance use prevention in a really like useful way? And so I think by connecting with internships, giving young people a way to earn money and really like feel themselves grow, that's one key part of the program. And so, yeah, we talked as a staff, and then I think maybe Sharon, my boss, knew that this funding opportunity was coming. And so together we kind of shaped what the program might look like. And so then we include obviously the internship career development, and then during the professional development training include like talking circles, cultural guest speakers, really try to help the participants reflect on their own relationship, I guess, with how substances have affected their life, and kind of what stage they are at for thinking of other ways to cope with like the stress of life or manage sadness. And a lot of times, you know, you only know what you know. And so, especially growing up, if you only see difficult emotions managed in certain ways, you kind of need help learning about different alternatives that can help you get through things.
That's a mouthful. I'm a former high school teacher, and I
Okay.
retired 2 years ago, and, what I like about, your program, it goes up to age 24, and I think some of us are, late bloomers like myself, and I think it gives an opportunity for people to, try a few things and then take a step back and look at, their future, because I read somewhere and, that this generation will have 8 careers by the time they retire. So it's good to
Oh, wow.
know all these things, because it's so loose, so fluid, things are changing, technologies, but, things like that, right, Ogama?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's important to mention, when we talk about like a youth population, I think a lot of people tend to think that high school age and, maybe just a year or two older, like that 18, 19-year-old, but, the human brain doesn't really finish developing until age 25 or sometimes later. And when you've had experiences in your life, or you have had, the effects of, say, substance use or poverty or other stressors in your life, your functioning in the world when you're 24 is still very much a youth, and it should be, for most humans.
Mhm.
It's really, really great that this program acknowledges that.
Right, right.
Yeah, I spoke to the MUD group in Minneapolis, just sort of talking about our program and highlighting the point that there just isn't much programming for that age group, the 18 to 24. And I think there's a lot of different reasons for that, whether it's like grant funders putting these arbitrary kind of like ages on what services you can offer. But there was just a lot of support from that group about recognizing the need and wanting to improve the resources for, like you said, still youth and people discovering what interests them.
We're on civic media all over Wisconsin, and also, of course, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. So we have a lot of people listening to us from different communities. What is there anything else like this going on? And if not, could they get a hold of you to maybe
Mm.
mirror what you're doing, or get some help on a program like this? Because I'm telling you, I liked everything about this when I heard about it, in the age group that we had just talked about, but also, I would have loved to buddied up with somebody that was with the TV or the news or the radio when I was in high school, and so that excited me to be able to give it away to keep it, and I think that's kind of what we do here at Native Roots, Ogama and I.
Yeah, I uh, I don't know of another program like this off the top of my head. That is something I'm trying to reach out. I did just connect with an internship program on they're called Northside Safety Net in Minneapolis, and so they were more focused on environmental education and or environmental careers, and it was also still the younger under 18 high school age. So I guess I would also love to get connections from listeners, or I know that I'm not the expert on the career development field. So I am still really looking to improve and yeah.
So other than having your first round, one person went to us, a native radio show that does a lot of different things and does them pretty well. And excuse me. And so, what were the other jobs? I'm curious to hear that.
Yeah. We had 2 interns at Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, and so they worked in community engagement. We had one intern who had a virtual placement with Great Plains Action Society, and I know that they really enjoyed their work, and I think it was a good match. And we had an intern with Minnesota Teen Challenge, Know the Truth, and so speaking to high school students. And we had an intern at Minneapolis Health Department in Green Careers, and we had an intern at the Native American Community Clinic in one of their community prevention programs, and then we had 2 interns at Anda Young. So I hope I'm not forgetting anyone off the top of my head, but yeah.
Well, it's so fun too because we know all those organizations dear and well, and Dr. Stately's on our show on Mondays too. So
Okay.
it's all a cool circle here. And Sherry, we know really well too from Enda Young. I've known her since she was 13. I guess I was like 14, but that was a million years ago. But it's great that. So, do you have any idea who you're reaching out next to look for interns? Or here's another question too: can people that had interns reapply for more interns? That's, I guess, a question I want to know.
Yeah, I would love to maintain those partners, and just as we develop policies and keep certain systems and protocols going, it's great to have some people that have been there before. So yes, I hope to keep, if host organizations are willing to host another intern the second time around, I would love that. And yeah, I'm open to a lot of different organizations. I did forget, we had an intern at AIOC at the Dakota Institute. So that was another really good spot. And yeah, during the training, I just kept telling the interns, sometimes I'd see their eyes be like, oh, I'm so scared. And I just told them that these are people that choose to host an intern already care about, young Native adults and helping them and being supportive. And just sometimes we don't see the positive as much, unfortunately. So it really was good.
I hope we got a good report because Ogama does stuff in the background that our intern was doing, and then also she came on the air a few times too. And
good.
At first she was a little nervous, but I think she really grabbed hold of it. I think she was on like 4 times, wasn't she, Ogama? Somewhere around 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it might have even been a half a dozen times, maybe 6 times, because she was able to cover for me when I needed to take a little bit of time, and she was able to come on and talk about some of her experiences and share about the things that she knows. And it was just, and her family and her little brother is really wildly popular in the community. Her little brother's baby Opie, and he's a wonderful singer. Yeah, we didn't know that until she came on the air with us, so it was really exciting.
Yeah, she is a really bright young lady, and the more I talk to her, I always learn something new and kind of surprising. So good.
Yeah, well, That's the great thing about working with youth. They always do surprise you in many, many ways. Uh, Brenna, thank you so much for being on, and thank you for supporting our youth and supporting us too. And we all win when the community wins, right?
I like that. Very true. Thank you for
I gotta
your
write that
support.
down. Gotta write that down and put it on T-shirts. I just made it up. Oh, wow. Hey, thanks for being on. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and we'll be back after this short break. Please stay with us.
All right.
Hey,
Thank
Olgama,
you.
I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Take care of your community by joining Metro Transit's Adopt a Stop program. Show your community pride by adopting a transit stop. Join us in helping keep the stop and your neighborhood beautiful and report any maintenance needs to us. We'll put a sign at the stop recognizing your efforts. Plus, you'll get 10 free rides every month. Get details at metrotransit.org/adopt. Again, adopt a stop for Metro Transit.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves. Please join Howling for Wolves on Wolf Day, Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at the Minnesota State Capitol. You can sign up on Howling for Wolves event page. Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey everyone, this portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Ooh, that was a good one. Hey, so that was a very interesting interview, and I really like her energy and her support, and it's good to have young people come back and give back to the community. And she didn't tell us how old she was, but I think she's in her 20s. I didn't want to tell people how old I was because I was so much more mature than my age back when I was in my 20s.
You know, I don't really worry too much about people's ages, but I am really grateful that we got connected with her for our intern and for the work that she does. And, you know, it's really good when we can have those ally people join us.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, you have a quick report. Do you mind sharing what you're going to play for us?
Sure, absolutely. So earlier today, I talked about the alert and update on the Aiken County Water Protectors hearing and Sheriff Dan Gaida of Aiken County. So this is like an ongoing background about yesterday's Water Protectors hearing in Aiken County and the allegations that were made against Sheriff Dan Gaida of Aiken County for dodging a subpoena and roughing up the subpoena server. This is courtesy of Honor the Earth. So without further ado, I will share that with you. Oh, okay. Apparently it says it's not connecting with my system. Let me see if I can try this one more time. Let me do it this way. Robert, hang in there with me for a minute.
Right, I will. I should tell a few jokes, but I don't know a joke. I'm just no jokes. I'm just kind of naturally funny, so it's hard for me to tell jokes.
All right,
And
let me see if it works this way, Robert. Oh, we can't hear it that way. Well,
I heard it. I heard it.
You heard it? Okay.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna go with it that way. Hang in there, everybody. And
Hey, I'm here, Kelly, for these 3 defendants.
We were here for a consolidated witness office. It was very long.
The crux of the argument that's in the motion that underpins the hearing today is that there's collusion between law enforcement and Enbridge through the privatization of police forces through this escrow account that has created bias against water protectors and those affiliated with them. Sheriff Gada, who we called to the stand today, who we were surprised to see or unsure if he would appear because communication with him about the subpoena has made it really unclear as to whether he would accept it, and attempts to serve him in the past have resulted in attempts to charge myself criminally. He has gone to great lengths to avoid being served with a subpoena, and even so far as to the point, as we heard testimony today, physically assaulted the last person we sent to serve him with a subpoena. So we're grateful that he was here and for the opportunity to ask him questions.
wow.
Yeah.
I'm just
Should have talked about it at rehearsal.
I guess so. Yeah. There's just some sort of a little bit of a glitch in my stream, and it says to try restarting my browser, and I've never run into that problem before. So thank you everybody for hanging on with that. But I mean, just to talk a little bit about that video, Robert. I mean, those are really serious allegations against a county sheriff.
Right. Right. And, we've had our own issues with our sheriffs, whether it was Stenik and then the latter one. And we just have issues with the police all over. So it's cameras are everywhere now, and you even have your own cameras on. So we need to it's stunning, but not stunning.
Right, exactly. And, that collusion that Attorney Kelly was talking about, and filing the motion to dismiss those charges against those 3 water protectors because of the unconstitutionality of that escrow account. For those of you that haven't been following, Enbridge Energy had an escrow account in the state of Minnesota, which paid out $8.5 million to Minnesota law enforcement agencies. And that was an agreement between the Minnesota PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, and Enbridge to ensure that the Enbridge Energy could use law enforcement in Minnesota as its own private security. And that is essentially what happened in many cases in Minnesota, that the duty of the police to serve and protect became the duty of the police to serve and protect corporate interests.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's just it's a difficult deal. It is really, and now we talked about this before, Ogama, but now the cameras are out there, and what our relatives and our BIPOC relatives have been saying for years is finding out that is true, that there's a bias. And we know that too, because we talk about Leonard Peltier and that FBI agent who, and I'm swinging back to that, sorry about that, but it just kind of reminded me of, the FBI agent talking about how they're indoctrined about lies in the FBI when they become new FBI agents. That's just mind blowing. So he's not in prison for murder. He's in prison for, as you said in the beginning of the show, he's in for aiding and abetting, and he's in for 48 years as of the 6th of February. And these guys that killed George Floyd for aiding and abetting are getting 1.5 years. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean, it's truly a testament to the current state of the justice system as it stands in the United States. We have police officers that are continuing to murder people of color, our Black relatives and our Native relatives. Native people are incarcerated at a higher rate than any other ethnicity or race here in the United States. There was just something that came out about that earlier this year. I could talk a little bit more about it maybe on air tomorrow, but a study came out about that. And then we have this sense of indoctrination, like you were saying, Robert, within not just local police forces like Aiken County in Minnesota, but at a national level at the FBI, people being indoctrinated about what kind of people or what kind of person, stands up for the things that they believe in. And those things are, it's dangerous to have those types of ideals in those systems, and having that built in makes it dangerous for people who would, prefer the system to work for all people.
Yeah, and I just got to say this as we're ending the show, Ogama, and again, thanks for the great work as always, and I want to thank our two guests and Bob Blake for coming in the last minute, and Brenna for stopping in and speaking about this great program. I just have to say this is that we're watching you, and we all are watching how our police us, and they have to serve and protect. But again, you'll have some more on that. Hey, I just want to end the show again with if you're listening to this show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We need to resist and divest and join a group and run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. Free Leonard Peltier now.
Hey, it's Patrick. February is the month.